green marble crochet tutorial. So I'm not showing my face for this intro. I just felt like I needed a bit of a break at the moment. But that's okay. I'll be back next time and you'll see me then. Yeah. But anyway, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make a wrap sweater design that I've come up with. Yeah, it turned out better than I thought it would. You'll see as we go. This has been quite experimental, so we're going to do it as we go. And also, you'll see it in the courtyard at the end, and we'll talk about it then as well. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you make yourself a lovely sweater. There's not really a lot I can say about it now. We'll probably just get straight into making it. This is actually very much based off the ballet wrap that I made in the past. Can't remember when I made that. So that's quite a popular one. And this is just a variation of that, but we've, turned it into a sweater. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, we can probably just get straight into making it. However, if you haven't subscribed, but you would like to subscribe to join me for some more tutorials, I would love to have you join me. Big thank you to my patrons. Thank you for your support. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my videos. Yeah. If you need to get in contact with me very quickly for anything, look for me on Instagram. I'm _green_marble, and you can find me there very quickly for whatever you need help with. So yes, alternatively, you can email me at thegreenmarbleproject@gmail.com, and I can help you there pretty quickly as well. So we can do that. All right, so that's it. Also, I'm going to be putting all the relevant links in the description, but just a reminder, there's going to be a link to my Amazon store for all my notebooks where the crochet journal is. So I do highly recommend that, even though I haven't got my hands on a copy yet, which is very frustrating. But when I do, I will be filming myself using it. I really need it at the moment. I really need to plan myself out better. It's just, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So yes, there's that. Also, if you don't want to get the crochet journal, there's plenty of other journals and notebooks that you can have a look at. They'll do the same job. It's just the crochet journal set up way better for, specifically for that, for planning out your projects. So, yes. Anyway, enough of that. We can just get straight into this. Alright, now then, to begin with, we're going to have a quick look at the tiny details on the label of the yarn that we're using. And that's this one. So, just quickly also, if you need more time to look at anything, pause the video. And I also want to mention quickly before we start, if at any point during the tutorial you feel like I'm going too fast, there's a feature on YouTube where you can slow down the speed of the video. So I just suggest doing that. So that you can keep up at your own pace. So yeah, just do that. Alright, so here we've got this. It's 80% acrylic and 20% wool. This is the brand. Also, here's this. So this is for different sizes, how many skeins you'll need for different sizes for different projects. So there's that. And here are some also other very relevant tiny details. So we've got 100 grams at 180 meters, and it's telling me that I should use a 5 to a 6, just a 5mm hook, which is good because that's exactly what I'm using. I'm going to use my 5, if I can focus on it, which I can. Okay, that's good. All right, let's begin. Now, what we need to do first is we need to find the end of our yarn that we're using. So where are we? We're going to find the end of our yarn. We're going to start by making a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, what you do is you take your the end of the yarn between the thumb and the index finger of your right hand, so like this. And with the index finger and the middle finger of your left hand, you're going to wind the working end around like so. Grab hold with these two fingers and pull through the loop. And don't worry about this end too much. I mean, normally you go through with a darning needle and you can weave it in, but I'm actually going to crochet this in as we go along. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find our hook. We're going to adjust our hook through that loop. You're going to take hold of the working end of the yarn, pull tight, just like that. So that's our beginning. All right, so now that we've adjusted our slip knot to the hook, what we're going to do is we're going to make a chain of 41. And to make a chain stitch, what you do is you yarn over like this and you pull through the loop with your hook. So you yarn over, pull through. So that's 2 chains, yarn over, pull through, and that's 3 chains. So I'm going to go away and I'm going to chain 41. We'll meet back up and we'll talk about how to move on to row 1. Alright, so here I am with my chain of 41. So what we've done with this chain is this is the foundation for the back section and the 2 shoulder sections on either side. And what we're going to do is we're going to begin increases for the shoulder section and the back sections, like straight from this chain. We're going to begin the increases, and we're also beginning the increases right away for the wrap at the front. So for the 2 front sections, we're going to be increasing those so they taper across at the front. You'll see as we go along, but we're beginning that right away too. So what we're going to do now that we've chained 41, straight from that 41, we're going to yarn over, and what we're doing is we're skipping that first chain from the hook. And normally if you're doing double crochets, which we're doing now, you would skip 2 chains from the hook and you'd be working into the 3rd chain, but we're going to be working into the 2nd. And you'll see why at the end, because I'm going to be putting single crochet edging around the wraps at the front. So you'll see why that is when we get to that point. So what we're going to be doing is just for each row, we're going to be chaining up 1 and turning. So that's what we're doing. So chaining up 1, we're skipping this first chain from the hook just here. So let's try and focus a bit better. That's better. So skipping that very first chain just there, we're moving on to the second one along. We've yarned over. We're going to insert our hook into that second chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And at this point, we're going to start the first increase for the first shoulder. And that's where we're beginning. So what we do for that is we're going to chain 2, so 1, 2, and into that same chain that we've just gone into, we're going to yarn over and put another double crochet into that same chain. And we're doing the increases for the shoulders into the 1st and the 10th stitch of the shoulder, well, the 1st and the 10th chain of these shoulder sections. Because for the chain of 40, what we've got is we've got 10 for each shoulder and 20 for the back. So now that you've put your first increase, I hope I'm explaining this okay. I'm trying to be as thorough as I possibly can. So we've just done the first of the 10 chains you're going to work across. So the next chain you're going to go into, which is that one just there, that's going to be 2. And I'll meet back up with you once you've done the 10th chain. A double crochet into the 10th chain. Alright, now here I am, and I've actually worked into 9 chains, including that first increase section at the front with the double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, so that's that one just there. Then we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now for the next chain, the 10th chain, I'm going to put in a double crochet, so 1 double crochet, then I'm going to try and talk properly, and then I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and put another double crochet into that 10th chain, just like that. So that's the second increase section for this part of this shoulder. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 1 single double crochet into each of the next 20 chains across. I'm having a problem talking today, I'm not sure why. So yeah, into the next 20 chains across, because I've had too much coffee. We're going to just put 1 double crochet in. I'll see you once you've done all your 20 double crochets, and we'll move on to the next part. Alright, so here I am with those 20 double crochets across the back just there, into those 20 chains. So now for the next chain along, we're going to put 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and another double crochet into that same chain. And that's the first increase for this next shoulder section. So now what you're going to do is you're going to work 9 double crochets across, and for the 9th, because remember this first increase section chain that we've just done, that's the first of the 10 for this shoulder. So you'll find you've really only got 10 chains left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wait, where are we? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yes, you've got that. And once you get to the last chain, you're going to be putting in another increase section. And for that, it's going to be a double crochet, a chain 2, and a double crochet. And that's how we're going to be increasing. So those are just the increases for the shoulder and the back section. For the front wraparound section, it's going to be a little bit different. And we're going to be starting that on the next row. So I'll meet back up with you once you've done that, and we'll talk about how we're going to move on to the next row. Okay, so here I am with that last increase section into that very last chain at the beginning there. I actually wasn't able to work that in as I went along like I said I was going to, so I'll just weave it in at the end with a darning needle and it'll be fine. Actually, no, what I can do... yeah, bear with me. So what I can do is I can work that in when we put in the single crochet edging around the V of the wrap at the front and the neckline. So we can do that, and I'll show you how to do that at the end when we get to that stage. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain up 1 and turn. Now, I think I did just say that we're going to be putting in the increases for the V at the front at this stage, but we're not, because that's going to be for the next row. And you'll see why when we get to it. So what we're going to do now is for row 2, we've chained up 1, we've turned, we're going to yarn over. We're going to put a double crochet into that very first stitch just there. So in through there, put a double crochet. And now for the next increases of the shoulder, what we're going to do is we're going to work into this increase section, this chain space of 2 that we've made. You're going to go in there, put a double crochet into that increase section. You're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and put another double crochet into that increase section. So just like that. And that's how we're doing that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put a double crochet into each stitch along, and there should be, I think there still should be 10 at this point. Yes, you're going to be putting 10 double crochets across. So I'll meet you when you get to the 10th. Okay, and here we are with all those 10 double crochets across. I just wanted to also mention something quickly, just because I know when I was first starting out with, crochet and different sort of methods for doing things, and especially this particular method for doing increases, sometimes I got a little bit confused where to put the last double crochet before a chain space of 2 and the first double crochet after the chain space of 2. And what you can do to remember how you do this is because you've chained up and you've turned and you're working into the non-braided side of the stitch. So what I mean by that is, you see just here, we'll use these stitches as an example. If you turn it over, you can see on this side there's a braid for the stitch, and if you were working into that side, you'd be working into the braided side. But you've chained up 1, you've turned, and you're working into this side. So when you're working into the non-braided side, the way you can tell which part of the stitch you're going into, and obviously it's going to be this one, which is the first stitch after the increase section. The part that you have to work into for the non-braided side falls to the top left-hand side of the body of that double crochet. So just there. So for the one before the increase section, you can see that's just there. So that stitch is falling to the top left-hand side. Did I say left-hand? I hope I said left-hand side. Just there of that stitch. And that's how it works. So if you're working into the braided side, the part that you're working into falls to the top right-hand side of the stitch. That's just something I found that helps me out, did help me out when I figured out how to do it. So I just hope that can help you. All right, so we're going to do this next increase section, which is a double crochet into that chain space of 2, followed by a chain of 2 and another double crochet into that chain space of 2. Now you're going to be working your double crochets across the back, and there should be, because we increased, there should actually be 22 double crochets for the back section. So I'll meet you once you've done your 22 and we'll talk about the next part. Okay, now here I am with those 22 stitches across the back, 22 double crochets. So we're now into the next increase section. We're just going to put our double crochet followed by a chain 2 and another double crochet into that increase section. Then we're going to work our 10 stitches across this shoulder. And here I am with those 10 stitches across. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, into that last increase section just there, put my double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet for that final increase of this row. And then you're going to find you've got one more stitch right at the end there. So because it is a chain up of 1, it's going to be a little bit different to what you'd normally be putting your stitch into. But if you just turn it over, you can see there, oh, no, there we go. So there's that chain of 1 just there. Just make sure you get into that for that final stitch right at the end of this row. Like that. So there we go. Now for the next row, we're going to be able to begin our increases for wrapping at the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 1 and we're going to turn. We're going to put our 1 double crochet into that first stitch. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into that first stitch. Now into the next stitch along the second stitch of the row, we're going to put 2 double crochets. So 2, just like that. Now we're going to put in our increase for this increase section. So double crochet, chain 2, and another double crochet into that chain space of 2 that we made from the previous row. Now you're going to have 12 stitches along on the shoulder because you've increased by 2 stitches. So you've got 12 stitches across for this shoulder. And here I am with those 12 double crochets across. So now we're going to do our next increase section into that chain space of 2, chain double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that increase section. And now you're going to find that you've got 24 double crochets to complete along the back. All right, now here I am at that next increase section. After those 24 double crochets, we're going to double crochet, chain 2, and another double crochet into that increase section. You're going to have 12 stitches across for the shoulder. You're going to complete the last increase section just there, and I'll meet you at that point and we'll talk about how we're going to move on to row 4. Okay, so here I am at that increase section, double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. So we've done the increase sections for this row. So what we're going to do now is, because we're wrapping both sides on the same row, so we're going to be doing increases for both sides of the wrap on the same row, like each time. So we're going to put our 2 double crochets into the next, because we've got 2 stitches left for the end of the row. The second last stitch at the end of each row is going to be an increase for the wrap at the front. So you're going to put 2 double crochets into that stitch, and you've got your 1 final double crochet into the end of the row. So yes, that's how we're going for the increases for the wraps at the front, while you're still continuing to increase for the back and the shoulder sections. The second and the second last stitch of every row from now on, from row 3, which we've just done, to when we stop the increases for the wraps at the front, is going to be into every second and every second last stitch of each row. So now you're going to chain up 1, you're going to turn, you've got your 1 double crochet into that first stitch, just like this, and 2 double crochets into the second stitch, just like that. And now you've got 2 stitches just there till you get to the increase section, and so on, so on. I think you see what to do from here on. So what we need to do now is we need to continue increasing these shoulder and back increase sections until when you don't bump the camera, and when you just sort of do this, yeah. Until when you try this on, you sort of drape it around your shoulders and hold the increases for the front up against you the way they would sit if the garment was finished. And you're going to be able to hold the back and the front shoulder and back increases comfortably beneath your arms. So I'm hoping to meet back up with you and actually show you what that looks like. 1, 2, because I think I did do that. In fact, I may have done, yes, I did do that for the ballet wrap that I did, because this is a very similar design. The only difference is we're going to be turning this into a sweater rather than a wrap. That is my hope anyway. So yes, that's what we're doing. All right, so I will meet you at the point where I'm able to join those increases comfortably beneath my arms, and I'll show you how that looks. So yes, I'll see you soon for that. Alright, so I just wanted to meet back up with you quickly and show you what I meant by being able to hold the front and the back increase sections comfortably beneath your arms. So I've increased by 14 rows off the original foundation chain. So I've done that. Everybody's different, so you may increase more, you may increase less, just depending on the size. It's always going to be different. But for me, it's been 14 rows. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drape it over our shoulders like this, and sort of hold those front sections together so that they're sort of overlapping a little bit like that. And what you're going to be able to do is grab that back increase section and hold it together with the corresponding front increase section, just like that. And you're going to be able to do that on the other side as well. So you grab the back increase section, hold it together with the front, just like that. So that's what we're doing. And now what we're going to do is we're going to join those increase sections and just continue work on the body for a bit until you've grown it to a length that you're happy with. And also we're going to be continuing the overlap of the front sections. And at a certain point, we're going to be joining those. Yeah, that's it. That's all I need to say. I think that's all I need to tell you. I just wanted to show you what that looks like so that you know what to do to measure it for your size, so you know when you're ready to join the increase sections. That's it. That's what I wanted to show you. All right, let's continue work. If you have any questions, like I always say, just ask me. All right. Okay, now, like I said, what we're going to do now is join the increase sections and just continue work on the body for a bit while continuing to increase the front sections until we've reached a point where we can join them. So what we're going to do, straight from the last stitch that you did, you're going to chain up one and you're going to turn and you're going to begin the row as you normally would, just putting in your double crochets all along. But when you get to the increase section, we're going to meet back up. And we're still continuing the increases. So do those increases at the front. You're going to put your 2 double crochets into that second stitch along. And then I'll meet you at the first increase section and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alright, now here I am at the first increase section. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and we're going to fold this increase section together with its corresponding increase section at the back. And we're going to fold the sleeve part towards ourselves like this. So don't fold it away, fold it towards you like this. So you're folding it like this, you've yarned over, and what you're going to do is you're going to put a double crochet through both of those increase sections just like that. So yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you've double crocheted just those increase sections together. So now what you're going to do is you're going to put a double crochet into every stitch all the way along the back, so you're moving straight on to the next stitch at the back. I'm going to just focus the camera. So you're moving on to the next stitch straight along at the back, on the back. What you've got to do though at this point is count how many stitches you've got at the back, because that's the stitch count that you're going to need to reflect at the front. Once you've grown the 2 front sections and you overlap them, you've got to make sure that stitch count reflects the back. So I've got 1, 2, and then we're going to 3. So I'm going to meet you at the next increase section. I'll let you know how many stitches I've got for the back. Yes, and we'll go from there. All right, see you at that point. Alright, here I am at the next increase section along. So I've got 48 stitches along the back just here, and that's the stitch count I'm going to need to sort of make up at the front after all the increases to sort of increase that taper from the cross section. I hope this is making sense. I will need to reflect that at the front. So I'm not quite sure yet if I'm going to do we'll get to the end of this row. So what we're going to do now is we're going to yarn over. You're going to take this increase section, fold it together with the corresponding front increase section. So remember, we're folding the sleeve toward us so that it's the same on the other side as on the other side. We've already yarned over. Where are we? Yarned over. You're going to put a double crochet through both of those increase sections at the same time. So where are we? There we are. Whoops, dropped it. There we go. So you're just double crocheting through those 2. Now we're going to put in our double crochets to the end of the row, and remember, for the second last stitch, there's 2 stitches into that stitch, which is going to bring us to a total of 27 stitches for each front section. So you're going to have 27 stitches, including the 2 stitches into that second last stitch for this end bit. So just remember how many stitches you've got at the back. Sort of put that number aside so that you can remember it for later, so that, well, okay, I'm going to meet you at the end of this row. All right, now here I am at the end of the row. And what we're going to do at this point is we're just going to chain up 1 and we're going to turn. So I've got my stitch count of 48 at the back and 27 for each front section. Plus we've got those 2 stitches that we've added where we joined the seams. So what we're going to do now is just put aside the stitch count of 48 or whatever your back section, however many stitches that is. Just put that number aside to remember later on, because you're going to need to reflect that at the front at some point. And what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be doing rows, and we're still increasing the tapering at the front for those overlap sections. So we're going to be doing that. And okay, so we've got 1 into the first stitch just there, 2 into the second stitch. So it's 2 into every second stitch, 2 into every second last stitch as well of each row. We're going to be continuing that till the front sections sort of overlap and sit comfortably at your sides. And what I want to do is I want to be able to reflect the stitch count of the back on each of those front sections, so that we're joining the same amount of stitches, so that we're joining the 48 stitches that we've already got at the back. And that's going to bring us to a stitch count of 96, so 48 plus 48, so it's going to be 96 plus those 2 on either side, so it's going to be 98 stitches all the way around. So that's what I want to do. Also, what I want to do for the last row of the increase, so for the last row where I'm putting 2 stitches into every second last stitch, for that row, what I want to do is chain up 2 before I start that row instead of 1, because when I go to join the stitches, I don't want the that last row to sort of bunch up, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to meet back up with you at that point anyway, and we'll do it together. But yeah, just continue to increase your front sections, the overlapping parts, until until each side sort of fits comfortably on the opposite side of where it started. You know what I mean. So we're going to do that. I might actually meet back up with you after I've finished and show you what I'm talking about. Just try it on, let you see what that's like, how it should sit, and also what I mean by chaining up 2 for that last row of increase. So I'll show you what that's like when I get to it. Alright, so let's go away. Let's continue to increase our front sections while growing the body of our sweater for a bit. And I'll see you soon to see what we're going to do after that. Alright, see you soon. Alright, so I finished increasing into every second and every second last stitch, and that's brought me to a stitch count of 146 at this point. So that's 48 stitches for the back, plus the 2 lots of 48 stitches for those front sections, and the 2 stitches extra that we had to include for the increase section joining, when we join those increase sections. So that's 146 stitches all up now. Alright, so this design has gone in a completely different direction than what I originally wanted it to. So instead of joining all the 48 stitches of each of those front sections together, we're not going to be doing that anymore, because I found that when I did that, it made the front sit weird, sort of puffed out at the front and looked horrible. So I'm not going to be doing that anymore. What we're going to do now is we're just going to join one of the front sections to the back, and with the other front section, we're just going to overlap that at the front and join it to the side with buttons. So that's going to look really nice, and I'm really happy with that decision. I'm really glad I found a solution, because honestly, it was upsetting me. I thought it was all doom and gloom until last night when I finally reached a better decision. So that's good. Alright. So let's just work on joining that front section now. Also, if you did chain up 2 for the last row, don't worry about it, because it's not going to affect the way it looks. I haven't done that because you don't really need to. Just for future reference, if you ever make this again, you don't need to do a chain up of 2. You just need to chain up 1 for the last row. But yeah, like I said, don't worry. It's not going to make a difference. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're just straight from the last row that you've done. You're just going to chain up 1 again, and you're going to turn. And we're not going to be increasing, we're just going back in the other direction with double crochets, 1 double crochet into each stitch. And I'm going to be double crocheting 98 across, and we're just going to set aside for the moment one of the panels of the front. So yes, so yeah, I'm doing the 98 stitches across, so that's minus one of my front panels, and I'll meet you once I've done all those 98 stitches, and we'll talk about how we're going to join. Okay, see you soon. Alright, now here I am with all those 98 stitches across that I've done. So now what I'm going to do, bypassing this last 48 stitches of the row of that front section, we're just going to put that aside for now. We're going to pick up the beginning of the row that we just did, where we chained up 1 and we turned. We're going to fold it together, making sure the yarn is pushed to the back just there like that. You're going to insert your hook into that chain up of 1 that you did, so just there. Through that stitch, you're going to yarn over, you're going to pull through that stitch and then pull through the last stitch on your hook to just close the round. Okay, so we've slip stitched, we've closed the round. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another row, or another round at this point, of double crochets before we put in the hem, the ribbed hem. So we'll do that after, but right now what we're going to do is, where are we? There we go, we slip stitched into that stitch to close the round. Now we're going to chain up 2, so 1 and 2. We're going to turn and we're going to put double crochets back in the other direction. So like this. Now I'm not putting my first double crochet into that stitch right beneath the chain of 2 just there. So not into that one, hang on, it's a bit badly focused, so let's focus that better. Just like that. Alright, so not into that one, but into the next one along. So into this stitch just here, I'm just going to put my first double crochet. So there's going to be 98 around for me. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I'm doing. And then obviously the last stitch will be into that one just there where we slip stitched to close the round. That doesn't look great, does it? Okay, yes, I just figured that out. Let's do that again. So the reason that didn't look right was because I was slip stitching into this side of the stitch. Because we're doing it in the round, I should have turned the beginning of the round like this, so that we're slip stitching into the front of that stitch just there. We've got to get it right. So there we are, because we were making it around, slip stitch into the front of that chain up of 1, just there like that. Yarn over, pull through, pull through. So there we are. That actually looks a lot better like that. All right, good. Glad we figured that out. All right, so now we're going to chain up 2. We're going to turn. So yes, because we're working in the round, we can now chain up 2 instead of that 1. All right, and like I was saying, not putting my first stitch into that stitch right beneath that chain up of 2. We're going to the next one along, and I'm going to be putting in my 98 stitches, because the last stitch of the round is going to be into that stitch right beneath the chain of 2 just there. If in doubt, count your stitches to make sure you've got the right amount. But yes, I'm going to have the right amount and it's going to be fine. So I'll meet back up with you once we've done our stitch count round. For me, that 98. And we'll talk about how we're going to close up the round and move on to the hem. Alright, so I'll see you soon. Alrighty, so I finished up my 98 stitches around, and now we're going to look for that chain up of 2 that we did at the beginning just there. We're going to slip stitch into the stitch at the top of that, so just into there, you're going to slip stitch just like that to close the round. And now we're going to be adding our ribbed hem. So for that, what I want to do is I want to keep my stitches very relaxed, because I don't want it to be a tight hem. I sort of want to try and make it sit evenly with the rest of the sweater. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're adding our hem sort of as we go. As we make it, we're adding it to the body. And I'm going to do a hem of 10 stitches. So for that, we're going to chain up 11. And I want to keep these chains fairly relaxed as well. So we're going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we've got 11 chains just there like that. And just like the beginning, we're going to be skipping that first chain from the hook, but we're going to be doing single crochets back across the chain of 10. So skipping that first one just there, you're going to stick your hook into the second one along, just like that, yarn over, pull through a loop, keeping it fairly relaxed. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2. So that's a single crochet. And we're going to be doing that into the next one along. So number 2, just like that. 3, so 10 back across the chain. Okay, so here I am with those 10 single crochets back across that chain. So we haven't sort of chained up and turned for this, we're just working into the same side that we were working into when we closed up the round. So we're just going back in that direction again. Now, this chain doesn't really represent anything, it just represents the chain, but this row of single crochets. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be into that stitch right beneath the chain up of 11 that we did. We're going to be slip stitching. And this joins that row of single crochets that we just did to the body. And now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch along, so that one just there, and that represents the chain up of 1 that we're going to be doing. So chain up of 1, and then we're turning back this way, and we're going to be working single crochets back along the part of the hem just here. So back along these 10 single crochets. And what we're doing is into the first stitch of the row, so that one just there, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting our first stitch through the hole of the stitch. And what I mean by that is if you turn to the top, you can see there's a V at the top of the stitch. And let's just try and focus that a bit better. Like this. Now, what you'll be able to notice is also make sure your yarn is sort of pushed around and to the back like so. And for the top of the stitch, you've got a V. You're going to be going in for the first stitch beneath both parts of that V like that. You're going to yarn over, pull through, single crochet. But for stitches 2 through to 9, you're going to be going into the top back part of the stem. I'm going to pull out slightly tighter, but make sure not to do too tight because, like I said, I want it to be quite relaxed. Just like that. So for stitches 2 through to 9, we're going into the top back part of that V on the top of the stitch, and that's what's going to create the ribbing. So just like that. Then that's number 2, number 3, the same. So that's for stitches 2 through to 9 into the top back part of the stitch. All right, and here I am at that 10th stitch just up there. So now for the 10th one, we're going to once again be going beneath both parts of the V through the whole of the stitch. So just like that, single crochet. And now at this point, you can just chain up 1, and we're going to be turning back in this direction towards the body of the sweater. And for the first stitch, it's going to be just like the previous row. You're going to single crochet into through the hole of the first stitch, then into the top back part of the V of the stitch for stitches 2 through to 9. All right, so here I am on my 10th stitch, which is going to be through the hole of the stitch beneath both parts of that V. Single crochet, so just like that. Now for this row of single crochet, what you're going to do to attach it is the next stitch along on the body, so that one just there, the one that you haven't slip stitched into, you're going to slip stitch into that just to join that row of single crochet that you've done, because the chain up of 1 from the previous chain up of 1 that we did where we slip stitched to the body just there represented that second last row of single crochet that we've just done. And so for this row of single crochet that you've just done, you slip stitching into the next stitch along to attach it. And now, to represent the chain up of 1, you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch along. So that represents that chain up of 1. So now when you turn and your next row of single crochet, that's what that chain up of 1 slip stitch represents, this new row of single crochet that you're going to do. I hope that makes sense. Yes, so now what you're going to do is you're just going to repeat what you did for the second last row where you single crochet through the whole of that first stitch into the top back part of stitches 2 through to 9, then through the whole of the 10th stitch, chain up 1, turn, and you're just going to be repeating this process until you have done as many rows of ribbing to reflect the stitch count that you've got for the body. So for me, there's going to be 98 rows of ribbing and they're all going to be attached. So now I'm chaining up, 1, turn, go back in the other direction. So yes, I hope that's clear. I hope we've cleared that up. So once you've done all your rows and they're all attached to the body, we're going to meet back up. We're going to talk about how to join the last row of the ribbing to the original foundation chain, so that one just there. And then we're going to talk about how to do the sleeves, because we need to move on to that. After which we'll talk about how we're going to join that front panel with the buttons, but we'll get to that later. Alright, so I'll see you once you've done all your rows of ribbing. Alright, now that I've finished all those 98 rows of ribbing, and I'm back around the other end. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to join the stitches of this last row together with the original foundation chain. And the way we do that is we sort of line them up like this. So they're like this. And I'm going to focus the camera better so that you can see better. Yes. Alright, so what we're going to do is, making sure the yarn is sort of pushed to the back like this, you're going to pick up the other side where the original foundation chain is. You're going to insert your hook into that first chain along on that side, on the right hand side, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So we're single crochet joining the stitches together with the original foundation chain. So what we're going to do now is you're going to drop the loop that you've got on your hook and you're going to hold it to the side like this. Then you're going to move into the next stitch along. So don't go into this stitch just here, because that's the one that you've already single crocheted. You're going to go into this next one just here. You're going to readjust that loop to the hook and pull it through that stitch like this. Then you're going to grab the working end, pull tight. You're going to move to the next foundation chain along on the left hand side, just here. You're going to insert your hook into that foundation chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, single crochet. So that's 2 single crochet joins so far. Then you've dropped that loop that you had on the hook, you're holding it to the side. You're going to go into the next stitch along, adjust the hook again, loop again to the hook, pull it through that stitch, pull tight, move to the next foundation chain along. So let's get a bit closer. No, that's okay. All right. So the next foundation chain along, which is just there, you're going to go in, pull up a loop, single crochet. So that is 3 so far. So I'm going to go away, do my 10 single crochet joins. We'll meet back up and we're going to talk about how to, well, we're going to tie this off first. Then we're going to talk about moving on to the sleeves. Alright, so here I am with all those single crochet joins, and I'm just going to, straight from that last join, I'm going to chain 1, just like this. And then I'm going to find my scissors. So grabbing my scissors, and I'm going to cut my yarn, just like this. So cut the yarn, and then all you're going to do is just pull through that chain, just like that, and pull tight. And that secures it, just like that. So you can weave that in later on. If it's on the wrong side, you can just stick your hook through at some angle at some point and pull it through like that. Whatever you need to do. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get working on the sleeves. Alright, now what we're going to do to get working on the sleeves is, obviously we're going to sort of fold this other front section that's not attached. Just fold it together at the front of the work so that it's out of the way. If you want, you can pin it down with something. Maybe grab a stitch marker and just adjust it to a stitch on the side, just so that it's out of the way. And what you're going to do is you're going to move to one of the sleeves that you bypassed when you joined the increased sections. So we'll just move to this one here. Now what you want to do is you want to find, like I've said before, I think I said this before in this tutorial, not sure, we'll say it again anyway. Make sure you're working into the back part of the stitch to begin with, so that you're keeping that back and forth continuity going of the, of the pattern, like I said before. So here we are, here's where you joined. So there's that stitch just there that joined those two increased sections together. So you'll be moving on to the next stitch along just here. So remember, the braided side is the right side, the non-braided side is the other side. I don't know. There is no right or wrong in this situation. So anyway, what you're going to do is you're just going to stick your hook into that first stitch along. So here's your sleeve. You're sticking your hook into that first stitch. You're going to grab some fresh yarn. you're going to adjust your camera and you're going to make a slip knot like this. Make a quick slip knot. You don't have to make too much of a length for the end just there. Just do that because you can weave that in as you go along. Like I said, we're going to be weaving the original end in from the top just here in, but we're going to do some edging on that, so we'll get to that later. So what you're going to do, you just adjust your knot to the hook, pull it through that stitch, pull tight. And now what you're going to do is you're going to chain up 2, so 1, 2, holding that loose end against your work just like that, so you can do it, weave it in as you go along, not crochet it in. You're going to yarn over and you're going to put your first stitch in next to that chain of 2 into that same stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and now you're just going to move on to each stitch along all the way around. I have not counted how many stitches I have all the way around, so I'm going to meet back up with you. As you can see, I'm weaving that end in as I go along, so just crocheting it around it like that. I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alright, here I am at the end of the round, so I've got 36 stitches all up, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 from the beginning, so just there, slip stitch to close the round, just like that. If you don't like that gap just there, you can sort of thread a piece of yarn through it and tie it closed, just in the middle there somewhere, between those 2 parts just there. Just if you don't like it, it really doesn't bother me, and it's sort of, you can't really notice it, you know. There is actually a way where you can close that gap even more, but I haven't done it for this pattern. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 2, we're going to turn, and we're just going to put double crochets back in the other direction. So like I said, we skip that first chain right beneath the chain of 2, the first stitch, right beneath the chain of 2. We're going to move to the next stitch along, just like that. And double crochets back in the other direction. Wish I could talk properly. Back in the other direction, you're going to have the same amount as the previous round, of course. And once you get to the end of the round, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 to close the round. Chain up 2, and just repeat this process until you've grown your sleeve to the length that you want it to be. Once you've done that, you're going to, once again, do the ribbing. And it's just exactly the same as before. So we're going to do 10 chains, 11 chains, and then skip that first chain from the hook. Single crochets back down the chain, and just repeat the process. If you get stuck, go back to where we did the beginning of the ribbing for the body. I might try and put a timestamp for that in the description so that you know where to go if you need to do that. So yeah, that's it. That's really all we're doing. We're growing the length. We're adding the ribbed hem for the cuff, the ribbed cuff. Once we've done that, we will meet back up again to do the edging for the crossover of the front sections. So yeah, we're going to do that. All right. Well, I'll meet back up with you for that. Yeah, just that. All right. I'll see you when we get to that point. Alright, now that the sleeves are all finished, I'm ready to add the edging to the front sections and the neckline. And then after that, we're going to add the buttons on the side to join the unjoined front section. Alright, however, first what we're going to do is you're going to make sure, obviously, that the right side is facing you, and you're going to know what that is because the unjoined front side is going to be on the outside. What you're going to do is you're going to find the bottom corner of that unjoined front section. So here we are. I've got my you can sort of see the front just here, and here is the unjoined front section. So I'm going to work my way down to the bottom corner of this. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting single crochets, 2 single crochets into every double crochet row end. So let's focus this a bit better. Yeah, that's not too bad. Alright, so we'll find this first row end along just here, and I'm going to go into the last stitch right at the end just there, because that's going to be the first part of this double crochet row end, this last stitch along the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're going to find some fresh yarn. You take your fresh yarn, you're going to make a slip knot, and at this point, yes, you can just, we're going to be working this little tail end in. So you've made a slip knot, you're going to pick that up, the hook where you've adjusted it through that stitch just there. You're going to adjust your knot to the hook, pull it through just like that, and then pull tight. And you're going to chain up 1 and put your first single crochet into that space where you've already got your hook, or where you've just put your slip knot, and chain of 1. So you're going to put 1 single crochet in there just like that, and then you'll find there's another part of that row end, so that's going to be just there. So just go in there, single crochet. Now we're moving on to the next row end along, and you'll be able to find quite easily where to put your single crochet. So you're going to go into the first part of that row end just there, and then you see the row end's got a second part just there. You're going to single crochet just all along the side like that, and you're going to be doing that into every row end till you get to the top just up here, where you're going to be putting your single crochets into the original foundation chain of the sweater. So just at the top where you started with those, I think it was 40 chains, wasn't it? And you're going to be putting your single crochets into the other side. I'll meet you at this point, so just work your way up the side like this. Where are we? We're going to move on to the next double crochet row end, so that's just there. And then you've got your second part of that row end just there. So work your way up the side. I'll meet you when you get to the top at that original foundation chain, and we'll do it together. All right, now here I am at the top of this first front section with my single crochets all the way up the side. Now all I'm going to do is just straight from there, I'm going to put a single crochet into this very first original foundation chain just here. So I'm moving straight from the side to the top, and you're just going to put a single crochet into each foundation chain all the way along. So for me there were 40, so that's 1, 2, and I've got 3 and 4. So once you've put a single crochet into all those original foundation chains, you're just going to be working your way over to the other side just here. You're going to put your single crochets into the double crochet row ends at the other side, so on the other front section. You're just going to work your way all the way down the side just there. I'll meet you at that point and we'll move on to it together. So I'm going to put in all my 40 single crochets. Alright, here I am all along the top with my single crochet, so it's 40 of those, and now I'm just going to move on to the side just here. So because, what have we got here? Alright, yep, we're just going to put 1 single crochet into this double crochet row end because we've already got a stitch at this. So this part that we've already gone into for the last of the 40 stitches across the top is the first part of this double crochet row end. And just here, this first one. So we've just got 1 there. Now we've got 2 double crochets into the next row end along, just like this. Then we're moving into the next one, and so on until you get down the other end, the other side of this front section. So that's what we're doing. Yes. All right, I will meet you at the bottom just here. We'll tie off together. So you're going to be going right down here to the end. All right, I'll meet you at that point and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, now I'm down the end on this side, so I'm just going to chain 1. I'm going to find my scissors and I'm going to cut the yarn just like this, and I'm pulling that chain through just like this. We're going to pull it tight and tie it off. We'll just set that aside for later to weave in, just like everything else. So obviously there's bits that are on the outside, but I'm just going to find places to pull those through, little points here and there where I can just pull through these loose ends and also pull that through to the other side to weave it in. But I'm going to do that later, because what we're going to do now, I mean, I don't really think I need to go through this with you, but we want to sort of, hang on a second. Alright, so I'm going to be using these buttons for this sweater. I think they're going to look great. I've actually used these a couple of times in the past. I think I used them for my half-finger gloves. Yeah, the blue ones. Hang on, I've got them right here. Yes. So I use them for these, and also the red hooded sweater that I made. I think that was last year or the year, but can't remember. Either way, that's what we're doing. So I'm using these to attach to the side, and I've got 3 of those. Obviously, you'll see how that looks when I'm outside in the courtyard, sort of showing you the finished sweater. So I don't think I'll go through how I'm going to do. I'm just going to attach that to the side. So I'll count obviously 40 across on the underside, or 48, sorry. 48 across on the underside, and I'm going to be attaching the front section to it. So I'll show you that in the courtyard. I'll just show you how it's worked out, and I'll be able to explain it better that way anyway. So I'm going to go away. I'm going to attach the front to the other front section, or the side, with the buttons. And then the sweater's going to be finished. I'm going to weave in all my ends. I'm going to go out into the courtyard. I'm going to try on my sweater. We're going to go away. We're going to try on our sweaters. We're going to come back, and we're going to see how they look. And I think they're going to look okay. I think there are some things that I'm going to change about this, but I'll go through that, you know, when I'm outside. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it then. I may remove the ribbing just here. Not sure yet. We'll see how it looks. Anyway, I'll see you at that point. We'll go through it together. We'll get all the cat fur off our sweaters, and we'll meet back up. All right, see you soon. Alrighty, here is the finished sweater. Yeah. Yes, alright, so it turns out I love this. I'm not going to be changing anything about it. I'm just going to leave the hem and the cuffs exactly as they are. Obviously, it turned out nothing like I originally thought it would. That just didn't go according to plan, but that's okay because, yes, I love this. I've already worn it out in public a couple of times. So yes, it's definitely a keeper. But that's it. I might add a hood to it later on, I'm not sure. I just leave it the way it is. Alright, so that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this sweater. Losing my voice. I hope you've enjoyed this sweater, and yes, I'll see you next time.